Recording in progress.
So everyone, welcome to Kollel Kol Shira in partnership with Breslov.org and also Daily Sanity. Okay, now, so we're gonna discuss some beautiful things here on Parshas Ba'aloischa for all the Jews in the diaspora. All right, by us it's already Parshas Shlach this week, but Baruch Hashem. So we will accommodate all the other wonderful Jews. So in this parsha, there's so many different things going on in Ba'aloischa, right? We start off Ba'aloischa Saneiros, right? El Mul Pnei HaMenorah. What does it mean, El Mul Pnei HaMenorah, right? And then we go over. Then we talk about the travels, right? We're talking about the different travelings in the parsha, and then we have this very interesting story with Miriam Hanaviah and Hara the Kohen regarding Tzipora, which is Eishes Moshe Rabbeinu, right? So far, so good, everybody?
Wonderful.
What?
Yofi.
Yofi. Okay, good. Very good. So let's talk about a few things. So, last week's parsha, right? We had in Parshas Nasi, so we had Hara the Kohen brought the inaugural sacrifices for each of the different respective shvatim, right? In order to inaugurate the Mishkan, correct? Right? And the Torah goes through each one of them, each one of the beautiful shvatim. But there was one sheva that was left out. And does anyone know which sheva was left out? It was Shevet Levi. Shevet Levi was not mentioned as bringing any set of karbanos like the other shvatim did. So Aaron asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He said, Hashem, is there a reason why we were left out? So Hashem said, Aaron, don't worry about it. You have a very, very special job. And your job is you will light the menorah, and that'll be your job. And that'll be yours for eternity. So Aaron HaKohen said, but wait a second, Hashem. Isn't it true that your light both fills and surrounds all worlds? Your light, Hashem, is so great and vast that your light fills and surrounds all worlds. So what will my lighting of these candles in the Mishkan, what will that do, and how will that help light the world? So with that, there's a beautiful medrash that has an example, a parable of this. That there was a big king, and the king was a very special king, and this king took a liking to one of the villagers within his kingdom, and he had called this villager to come to the palace, and he wanted to meet with this villager, and he called the villager, and he met with the villager, and he said to the villager, in 30 days I want to be able to come to your home, and I want to have dinner with you in your home. So the villager was so happy. Wow, the king wants to spend time with me. He couldn't believe how lucky he was that the melech wants to spend time, the king wants to spend time with him. So he accepted it with great joy. And the way it goes is that he went home and he went to take a look at what he had. And he made an accounting of the things that he owned and what he had to do. And the way it goes is like this, that he saw that his table was not so good. So he went out and he cut some wood and he got some, and he built a new table and he built some new chairs and so on. And he had painted the walls of his little shack. He went out to get a chicken. He got himself a chicken so he can have some fresh eggs. All right? And the days were, and he was preparing, and the days were coming close. And it came that very day And when he came to that day, the king's entourage, was coming down the road. And you can imagine the grandeur, the way a king would travel, right? He had the golden candelabras and the band, the royal band, and it was very, very. I'm sure it was very, very regal, right? And the villager sees this, and he sees the band coming, and he sees the king's chariot, and he sees the beautiful horses, and he sees all the soldiers accompanying the king. And he looked around his house, and he felt so embarrassed. He felt so embarrassed of his little house. So what he did was, he went and he closed all the shutters on his house. Right? In Hebrew we call them the trasim. He closed all the shutters on the house, and he put out the candles, and he sat by the door. And they came and they announced that the king is here. And what happened was, he didn't answer. And another one announced that the king is here, and he didn't answer. Finally, the king said, "I will go myself. And knock on the door." And the king goes and knocks on the door, and the villager hears it's the king. He can't refuse the king. So he opens the door, and the king sees it's dark inside. It's dark inside the house. And the king asks his friend, the villager. He says, "Did you not recall that I was going to come to visit you today?" Oh, he said, "No, your highness. No, on contrary, in the last 30 days I was preparing, I painted, I built some new furniture, I got the chicken, and I was doing the best that I could. But when I saw your grandeur coming down the road and what you have, my dear king, I just felt so embarrassed that I can't provide anything of that, anything like that." So the king said, "You don't understand. I always have all of that. I always have the royalty, and I always have all of the riches and all of this." He said, "But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested just to spend time with you, my dear friend." So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Hara and Aharon, "Yes, it's true that my light fills and surrounds all the worlds. Of course that's true. But I want to use your light." HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Aaron, "I want to use your light to illuminate the world. It'll be your light that I will use to illuminate the world." And we know Hanukkah is attached to that also, right? We know that the candles are beautiful and bright on Hanukkah, and it's connected to the menorah. Every time we learn about the menorah, of course, Hanukkah is connected in there too. All right, so that was that idea. And one other idea I want to discuss outside is like this. We discuss all of the different travels that the Klal Yisrael did in the desert, right? And the Torah says sometimes we stayed a day, sometimes we stayed a week, sometimes we stayed a month, sometimes we stayed a year. But let's think for a second. Let's think for a quick second. What was going on, and why does the Torah have to describe to us the different time segments of how we would travel? Sometimes it wasn't a day, sometimes it was more than a day. And what is the difference? We knew when the cloud moved, we knew we had to pack up and we had to start moving to follow the Anan. The clouds of glory, correct? So what was the significance? What's the significance that the Torah has to tell us these things? So I was thinking like this, something interesting, and I wanted to share with you. When we were in the desert, we felt Hashem's presence very, very much so. Right? Every morning we went outside and we had the lechem, abirim, the lechem that came from Shemayim. We had the man, right? We had the beautiful man, the Michael of the Malachim, that the Malachim eat, whatever that means. Okay? Every day, Hashem provided us with water. He provided us that our shoes didn't wear out. Everything that we needed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was constantly providing with us with. The same way Baruch Hashem provides us today. That's why I really wanted to discuss it. Right? We all have our problems. We all run into different situations, financial situations, health issues, family problems, marital, whatever it is. But Saif Kol Saif, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there. And Hashem gives us shelter, and Hashem gives everyone what they need. So why, I think, to say like this, why was the Torah explaining, and every word of the Torah is precious, very precious, and so why does the Torah go through the length to explain us the different segments and different denomination and calculations of how we would travel? To show us like this, when we would, like maybe like this, when we travel, right? So let's say you're going to a hotel, right? And you're going to be there for one night, right? You're going to a hotel, so you have your stuff in your suitcase, right? And you're going to be there for one night. So let me ask you, does anyone ever think of unpacking? No one unpacks, right? You put your stuff in the suitcase in a way that you can like open the zipper a little bit to know where your slippers are, to know where your pajamas and things like that. You don't unpack. Well, let's say you were going to go away for a long time. You were going to be away for a week. You're going to a hotel for a week. So if you come to a hotel for a week, of course you're going to use the closets, the drawers. You'll unpack your suitcase. It's going to be there for a week. So many times the kids, our children in the desert, would have said to us, Daddy, we unpacked. We unpacked. Everything's all set. Now we have to go again. Should we unpack? Should we not unpack? Just to show, really, that it was really based on what the Anani Akaveh did. The Anani Akaveh was HaKadosh Baruch Hu showing us a hug. It was protecting us. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. And we had the right, Hashem always made it a wonderful temperature. Maybe perhaps for somebody liked it when it's 66 degrees, and this family liked it 72 degrees, and this liked it 75, and everyone had what they needed. It was so perfectly given to every single Yid. Every single Jew felt that. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was showing that I don't mind. We were showing Hashem that we don't mind as long as we're with you, Hashem. As long as you're with us, Hashem, it's okay. We'll go a little bit of time. We'll go a lot of the time. It doesn't make a difference. We'll be with you, Hashem, because we felt the chiba yisera from Hashem. We felt that big, beautiful hug from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that beautiful hug that we felt that Hashem was taking care of us. And Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu continues with his great kindness to always take care of Klal Yisrael. So that was one thing I wanted to discuss with you. And then now to discuss this idea of what happened at the end of the parsha with Miriam, Hanaviyah, and Hara and Hakoyin, right? How are they speaking, against Moshe Rabbeinu, that he wasn't treating his wife properly? Chas v'sholom, right? How can it be? But we know that everything in the Torah is to teach us a lesson. And perhaps the Torah was teaching us a lesson that even if you're a great person, like Miriam Hanaviyah, like Aaron HaKohen, the greatest of the great, you can't speak Loshan Hara. Loshan Hara is not being allowed to be spoken by anybody. Now let's see a little piece here in the Likutey Halachos regarding Loshan Hara. And how was the Loshan Hara attached to it? How did it do with Moshe Rabbeinu? And then why does the Torah say, "Ish Moshe haya anav mikol adam"? Moshe Rabbeinu was the anav of all people. He was the greatest anav of all time. So it says like this: "V'tidaber b'Moshe." They spoke against Moshe. So the Rebbi says like this: no, and we have to know this really well. Loshan Hara shalaila mazik ufaygim esanivas. Loshan Hara causes a pagam, a blemish, in humility. In humility. What does that mean in humility? We're going to see. Shayidei Loshan Hara shalaila midabrim, because Chas v'shalom, when the world, when the Jewish people is speaking Loshan Hara, we're speaking ill against another Jew. Ayedei hapagam hazeh efshar le'atzadikim liyos hanovim. It makes it impossible for the tzaddikim to be people that are anovim, to be people that are humble, to be humble people. It makes it impossible for the tzaddikim to be humble. Let's see what this means, and how does this fit into the parsha and the lesson that we're trying to say. Pagam lashon hara mafrid bein anova lechachma, because what happens is the lashon hara causes a hefred. It causes a separation between anova and chachma. What does that mean? By days nifkam anova, and since the chachma is not there, so therefore there's a begam in anova, right? You know, the Gemara gives the example of a chassid shaita, right, where a guy sees that there's a lady that's in the river, she's swimming, and she's drowning. So the guy says, you know, I can't go and save her. You know, there'll be maybe over on the issue of Negiah, I'll touch her. This, he makes all kind of chesbainis. That's another psula. That's a shaita. The Gemara says that's a shaita, right? It's not another. There's no chachma there. The chachma is a person drowning. So what are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me if there's someone drowning, I can break Shabbos, but I'm not going to go save the person. So I'm not going to go save the person now. Can a person think like that? So the Rebbe says over here, it's mafrid. It makes a separation between the anava and the chachma. Okay, and that causes the pegam in the anav, the efshar liyos anav, and it makes it impossible for the tzaddik to be an anav. Vafilu im yeh anav, even if the tzaddik will be an anav, he'll try. Hu b'loy chachma, he'll be an anav, but he'll be without chachma. V'zeh yadua, sh'anava b'loy chachma einay klum. If you have a nova without chachma, it's useless. You see, there's a nova where a person acts to the public in a humble way, and then there's an anava in a person's heart, right? Where the person feels himself. He knows his own shortcomings. He knows who he truly is. And there's an anava that's also tali belev, that's in the heart. All right? The guy will go with his head down. You know, you see sometimes people that are walking with their head down, and this and that, and the other thing, they're trying to impress someone that they're an anav. He says, Kizer anava psula. This is anava that is puzzle. This anava is not anava at all. The main anava is when this chachma connected with the anava. In other words, it's in his mind. The person knows he's not trying to impress upon people. He's not trying to do that. He's trying to constantly do the right thing. And this is what he's trying to do. And because he's trying to do the right thing, he uses his chachma to understand that. He understands it with his chachma. So here's what it is. So whenever there's a Loshan Hara situation going on in Klal Yisrael, it's causing that separation from the anava and the chachma. It separates them. Not that the person doesn't have chachma, not that the tzaddik doesn't have anava. He has anava which is separated from chachma. And we're saying when anava is separated from chachma, that's anava psula. That's a pasul anava. That's not anava. That's not being a humble person. Here we go. Now we're going to see the greatness. How Moshe Rabbeinu was really Rabban Shel Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was the tzaddik that was able to overcome all the situations. That what? The Torah praises Moshe Rabbeinu. That Moshe Rabbeinu was on such a high level of anova. He was such an honor. and even when they were speaking lashon hara about him, it didn't damage his level of humility. V'zeh shekosav v'tidaber b'Moshe, when they were speaking against Moshe Rabbeinu, the lashon hara nimsa shehaya pigam lashon hara b'olam. So we see that the Torah says that there was a pigam of lashon hara going on right then at that moment. The Torah is made to that. Afal pichein v'oish Moshe onav miyoid. The Torah says at that time, right then and there, Moshe Rabbeinu was onav mikol adam. Moshe Rabbeinu was onav miyoid ki haya b'mala gedola kol kach b'anava, because he was on such a high level of his anava. Shafilu pigam lashon hara lo yizik lo la'anava shaloi. That even when there was this pigam of lashon hara, even though there was this pigam of lashon hara, it did not cause him any hizik. It wasn't mazik Moshe Rabbeinu's anava. In other words, it didn't separate the anava from the chachma. Moshe Rabbeinu maintained his chachma. Moshe Rabbeinu maintained his anava, and it was not able to be paigimit. Now, if you remember, we learned before in Likutey Allah. This is based on Torah Likutey Mohran of Kuf Tzadik Zayin 197. Right, but we also learned together a few years ago in Likutey Halachas Baruch Hashem this concept of how Moshe Rabbeinu actually mechanically became Onav Mikol Adam. I don't know if anyone recalls that, but I'll remind you when it came to the Chet of the Egel. Right, when Moshe Rabbeinu went to bat against Klal Yisrael, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I want to destroy the Jewish people, and I want to make a new nation with you. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Moshe Rabbeinu went through the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew every single Jew. He knew every single Yid. He knew everybody. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew and understood the greatness of every single Jew. He knew it and he understood it, and he believed in every single Jew. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew Jews that were, let's say, the mitzvah of Shabbos. Shabbos was so special to them. They would prepare for Shabbos and they would wait for Shabbos, and they would enjoy and be ma'anig the Shabbos and delight in the Shabbos. And Moshe Rabbeinu said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look, Hashem, you know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I love Shabbos also. Shabbos is so beautiful, right? Shabbos is very beautiful, right? And we know, right? We know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we say Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelkai, right? We say that on Shabbos morning in the Shachris, right? Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelkai. What was his chelik? That Moshe Rabbeinu was able to tell Parai to give off a day to the Jewish people so they should be able to produce more and they should be more successful. So he said it was Shabbos. And then when HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, oh, Shabbos, it's on the seventh day. And Moshe Rabbeinu was so happy that he was able to perceive that. So you see how special and dear Shabbos was to Moshe Rabbeinu, right? We see that, right? We say it every Shabbos morning. Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelkai, ki heva neman k'rosalei, right? And then Moshe Rabbeinu saw the mitzvah of tefillin, let's say, and he saw there was some Yidden that loved their tefillin. Oh, they loved their tefillin. It was so special to them. And even though Moshe Rabbeinu loved his tefillin, also, of course, Moshe Rabbeinu loved every mitzvah. Moshe Rabbeinu said that, every single Yid has a special mitzvah, something that's very near and dear to them, right? Every single Yid has something that's very special to them. So some Yidden, have the mitzvah of tzedakah, some people have the mitzvah of gemilas chasadim, right? We understand that, right? So there were also Yidden that loved their tefillin. There were Yidden that loved their tzitzis. And Moshe Rabbeinu went through every mitzvah, showing how these Jews were better than him in that mitzvah. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu actually do? He actually disqualified himself because he showed Hashem. He systematically showed Hashem how great every single Jew was and how each Jew was greater than him in one or multiple ways. Via doing that, Moshe Rabbeinu was able to prove to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he was mamish onav mikol adam, because he showed how great every single Jew was. He found the good, he found the nekuda tova in every single Jew. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu used to save us. And that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Yud. He gave us the 13 attributes, right? Hashem Kel Racham V'Chanan, right? We got the 13 attributes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because he showed the beauty to Hashem of all the Jewish people, and that's actually the opposite of Loshan Hara. And again, the Chafetz Chaim says, why would a person ever speak Loshan Hara? Right? Chafetz Chaim writes a lot about this. You know, Chafetz Chaim is famous for speaking against Loshan Hara, and all the halachas of avak Loshan Hara, all the different halachas of a Loshan Hara. They're very complicated, right? But why does he say? Why would a person speak Loshan Hara? Because he's a balgaiva. A person that's a haughty person will always look to find something negative in somebody else, so that way he looks better, because he's showing how low they are, so therefore he looks better, which is the exact opposite of what Moshe Rabbeinu did. Moshe Rabbeinu showed that everyone was better than him, and therefore the Torah says he's onav mikol adam, and that's the best way to ever steer clear of chas v'sholom ever speaking Loshan Hara. When we understand, what did Moshe Rabbeinu do? He found the goodness in every single Jew. And if we focus on trying to find the goodness in every single Jew, halavai, we could do that. So of course, 110% will never come to speak Loshan Hara. And again, if we always remember, Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Summit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always there, Hashem is always there with me. So of course we're never going to speak Loshan Hara. And why would a person ever want to speak Loshan Hara anyway? We know the Chafetz Chaim goes on to say that whenever everyone makes mistakes, right? There's no Jew, there's no tzaddik b'aretz asher lo yechdei. There's no such a thing that someone lives and they don't make mistakes. We make mistakes. We're human beings. We make mistakes. We have our faults. So, but when the other side, when the side of prosecution in Shemayim wants to prosecute against us, right? He wants to bring up the prosecution against us. How does he do that? Well, says the Chafetz Chaim, you know how he does that? He takes our words that we that chas v'sholom any Jew spoke with Loshan Hara, any word a Jew spoke with Loshan Hara, he takes those words, and he has that like that Scrabble thing, a thing to put all the letters in. He mixes them all up, and he takes those letters and he makes his case using the letters that the person used to speak the Loshan Hara. In other words, he re-scrambles those letters, those words. He makes up new words to bring prosecution against the guy. So who would want to have prosecution brought against them? So again, that's another reason why we should stay away from Loshan Hara. But the main thing is to understand that really we're supposed to love all Jews. So again, if we love every single Jew, why would we ever think, chas v'sholom, to speak bad of any Jew? And again, why perhaps did Aaron and Miriam have to do this? To teach Klal Yisrael that don't think because you're such a great person, you could talk against other people. Is anyone going to say they're greater today than Aaron and a Kohen? Is any lady going to say they were greater than Miriam and Neviah? Any lady can say that today? Any lady living, can she say she's greater than Miriam and Neviah? Could any guy say that he's greater than today living, that he's greater than Hara? But they spoke Loshan Hara. This was Loshan Hara going on, and look how they got punished. Look how Miriam was punished. She got the tzaras. So you see that even great people, nobody can speak against Klal Yisrael. Does anyone want to say anything? I said a lot of things over here. Are there any questions? Does anyone want to try to disprove anything I said or or anything like that? No, everyone's quiet. Okay. Shkoyach, everybody.